Purim Sameach. So to understand the story of Purim, it says in the Gemara that the reason why there was a decree on Am Yisrael that we're going to all be wiped out in one day is because we enjoyed the meal of that evil person, referring to Achashverosh. So, first of all, before we understand what the sin was, it says in the Rambam that when someone does an Avera and he goes through suffering because of the Avera that he did, it's not because that's not an atonement for his sin. It's not Hashem healing him or doing something because he's an Avera, so he needs to go through suffering. That's not how it is. Rather, the Rambam tells us that Hashem protects us at all times, but once you do an Avera, he removes his protection. And the way of the world, the way it runs without Hashem's special protection over us, is what happens after you do an Avera. Obviously, it needs to be a severe Avera. You don't see people doing Averas all the time and all of a sudden being killed and shot in the head. So there are obviously different levels. Right? It's not clear in the Rambam about that, but I think it's pretty safe to say we have to have the more severe of an Avera you do, the less protection you have from Hashem. If you do a small Avera, so you'll have a little bit of less protection, but you will still have more or less be protected. And so, over here, we see that the Avera is such a severe Avera that Hashem removed its protection completely, where the world goes back to the way it would run without Hashem's protection. So we actually learn over here a big thing. Every generation, there are anti-Semites who want to just kill us out in one day. And they do everything they can to kill us out in one day. Every Jew all over the world. That is the natural way of the world. But Hashem is always protecting us, and Hashem loves us and cares for us. And therefore, we don't usually see that. But in the time of Purim, we did such a great sin that Hashem completely removed his protection, and we fell into the hands of Haman, who wanted to kill us all in one day. So what was the Avera? The Avera was that we enjoyed the meal of the Russia, right, of that evil person referring to Achashverosh. So that doesn't add up. Like we said, it has to be a pretty severe sin in order for Hashem to completely remove his protection like that. Enjoying food that was kosher at a meal that you were allowed to go to does not sound like a big sin. I mean, you could say maybe you shouldn't have been enjoying it so much, but if Hashem would be that picky with us, you're enjoying a meal, you're gonna be killed out, then we would have been gone a long time ago. So something is missing over here to explain what's going on over here. So the Rebbi explains, we felt a sense of security. That was a joy that we had. We felt now we're making the king happy. We're doing what he's telling us to do. We're here in the king's palace, enjoying his meal that he wants us to enjoy. He invited us, and we're getting closer to the king. We put our faith in the king, in Achashverosh. He is now going to protect us. That sense of security that I feel that I'm in good hands, I'm in the hands of Achashverosh, and if I'm close to him, he's going to take care of me. That was the sin. And that's a pretty harsh thing to say. I'm not trusting in Hashem anymore. It's not Hashem who takes care of me, rather it's Achashverosh. That is a very harsh thing, and for that Hashem removed his protection completely. Hashem said, you're relying on Achashverosh. Achashverosh is going to protect you? Let's see how well Achashverosh will protect you. And as we know, Haman came and said he wanted to kill us, and Achashverosh gave him his ring to seal the decree that we can kill every single Jew all over the world in one day. And then what happened? Esther comes. Before I get into Esther, let's go back a second. So it's not a problem that we went to the meal. In fact, we were supposed to go to the meal. Hashem wanted us to go to the meal because Hashem wants us to do things in natural ways. So by us going to the meal and becoming close to the king, we are opening up a vessel that allows Hashem to make the king think good about us, and through that vessel, Hashem could use Achashverosh and to actually really protect us. So the meal was not problematic. The meal was good. It was the will of Hashem. And the food was kosher, and everything was fine. The problem was, instead of looking at it as a vessel and as the will of Hashem, that this is the way Hashem could use Achashverosh for our benefit, we took it to an extreme that Achashverosh is protecting us. Hashem's not in the picture, it's only Achashverosh. So if we're going to explain what the sin was we put too much faith into the vessel. More focus on the vessel, less focus on the spiritual aspect involved. Right? You go to work, that's making a vessel for Hashem to bring down the abundance. But our davening and our learning and our service to Hashem is what really brings the abundance. That's what brings, spiritually speaking, the abundance. And we just have to have that vessel for it to fall into. Right? Rebbi explains going to work is like making pockets, sewing up pockets. So if you sew up a bazillion pockets and you don't focus on the spiritual aspect, then those pockets will not get filled up. And even if they apparently seem to be getting filled up, you will see that the money does not have much of any bracha whatsoever, and it's going to be slipping between your fingers left and right, and you can be in more debt today than you were yesterday. So we need to have the spiritual aspect involved, and that was the sin of Purim. We put too much focus on the physical part of what needs to get done, and no consideration in the spiritual aspect of Hashem. He is the one who doesn't sleep and doesn't rest. He protects us. If it's not going to be through Achashverosh, it will be through somebody else. But Hashem is always protecting us. So now Esther comes to fix up the problem, fix up the sin that we did, to reverse things around. What does she do? She asks all of the Jews of Shushan to fast for 3 days. Obviously, fasting includes davening, includes opening up our hearts to Hashem and changing our ways, take upon ourselves good things, how we can change ourselves. And now we're putting much more emphasis on the spiritual aspect involved. And the Rebbi says it didn't even make sense that Esther went to the king after 3 days and 3 nights of fasting. Think about it. How do you think she looked after 3 days and 3 nights of not eating and not drinking? She must have looked terrible. Physical appearance. There's no good physical appearance over here. Terrible. She should have rested up a little bit, eaten, gotten something to drink, give her some time to rejuvenate from the fast, the long, lengthiest fast. I wouldn't say the lengthiest ever, but from fast that we're familiar with, this was definitely a hard fast, 3 days and 3 nights. And Esther, even though she looked terrible, she went to the king, and the king looked at her, and she found favor in his eyes, and he invited her in, and by the end also another decree. So the Rebbe tells us from here, we need to know that's how things need to be done. You need to make a vessel for Hashem, make the vessel. But don't make such a big deal about it. What should you make a big deal about? Spiritual aspects. Spiritual needs to be taken into consideration. You need to make sure it's perfect. You make sure you put your best into it. The physical, alright, get something going, You have to have something. Get something. It's not the best, doesn't look okay, someone's a bit off with it, doesn't matter. Just do whatever you can to get a vessel going, but the spirituality, don't make that something small. Yeah, I'm learning it. No, that is where you really need to put your effort into. Put as much effort as you can into the spiritual, the least that you can into the physical. Just make sure you got something over there, and with that, everything will work out just nicely. And that's what fixed up the sin that Am Yisrael did by putting their trust into an evil person like Achashverosh, thinking that he can actually protect us. We have no one to rely on, only on Hashem. And this needs to be remembered at all times about everything that we do, and also with the vaccination that we're taking. The vaccination should, I'm not saying whether to take it or not to take it, but by the end of the day, we need to remember it is Hashem who is our true vaccination, our spiritual vaccination. It is not the work that gives me money. It is Hashem that gives me money. I make a vessel by going to work. And if I can't go to work, then I'm exempt from going to work. And Hashem will send me the money in other ways. Unless I'm relying on my job. You're relying on your job. So let's see what your job can give to you. Your job doesn't give you anything. You're not going to have anything. But if your trust is only and purely in Hashem all the time, whether you have a job or not, then you will see that all the time Hashem will have your back covered. One way or another, He will send you what you need. Purim Samech.